Good morning, everyone. It is April the 30th. So, if you have anything that you needed to get done by the end of April, you should probably do it today because you don't have another chance after today. Yeah, there's no 31 in this month. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing your Modly Mod duty. And yay, Jeffrey Montgomery got a notification. That is great. Good morning, Kay and 80s Music Man and Tammy. Good morning. And Fedorowski, good morning. So we have some heartbreaking news to start out with. I'm sure it has been all over your news and my news feed. And welcome out and about with Diane. But there were four students that were killed when a vehicle crashed into an after school program in Illinois. So this is going to be a huge case. It is going to be absolutely, just tragic, but it is a big news story that is coming out here. Now, four female students aged 4 to 18 years old were killed in central Illinois on Monday afternoon when a vehicle struck at a school camp program, authorities have said. Now, while the cause of the crash in Chatham, about 12 miles south of Springfield, remains under investigation, state police said Tuesday that it does not appear to be a targeted attack. The driver, a 44-year-old Chatham resident, Marianne Akers, was not in custody as of Tuesday. Now, why she's not in custody, I don't know, but I am glad to know that, the police are taking their time and actually investigating this. I mean, I can't hold one opinion for, Karen Reed and every other criminal justice case and want them to do a thorough investigation and also want her to be thrown in jail without any investigation. Although my emotions are saying, why is she still free? Sangamon County Coroner Jim Almond said in a statement Monday night that the victims were four female students who were pronounced dead at the scene. Now, three of the victims were outside of the building and one was inside when they were struck, according to state police. Examination of all of the victims' bodies is expected on Tuesday, and I am going to switch to a different I believe there is a different page I had. No, never mind. I think they will actually, there are articles that are now releasing the identities. I just wanted to make sure that those were, pretty clear and not subject to any change before I bring them out. Now, several others were injured, officials say, including a person who was taken to hospital by helicopter. The vehicle drove onto the east side of the building used by the YNOT after school program at about 3:20, police said. It struck several people inside and exited through the building's west wall. The driver, who was the only person in the vehicle, has been hospitalized but was uninjured, per state police, as far as Tuesday. Now, toxicology tests have been taken on the driver and results are pending. Now, as we were learning about the Karen Reed case, there might be certain, tests that they have to do at the police station versus, the hospital because of all of the, blood alcohol testing and that kind of thing. But those are pending. State police say the crash remains under investigation. Chatham police call it a terrible, terrible tragedy, which, yeah, no S, Sherlock. I mean, I don't know how you can say anything, but this was, just a tragedy beyond words. But, Governor J.D. Pritzker said on X that he is horrified by what happened, and his office is ready to support those that are affected. Uh, you know, In-person instruction was canceled Tuesday at Chatham Ball School District campuses where e-learning was declared so they could solely focus on the emotional well-being of everyone in that school community, which I think is a good idea. But, sometimes seeing your friends, especially when you are a child, so you can mourn together and, feel your feelings together, might be better than having to stay home and play on a computer. I am not a fan of e-learning. have me have 5 children, 6 children who need to use the internet all day. It's not one of the things that I think, you know, would be helpful. Now, this is not a wealthy, part of Illinois. This village of Chatham has a population of about 14,000 with a medium household income of about $106,000 a year. A representative for the camp did not respond for request for more information, but according to its website, a Springfield couple launched it in 2002 to help keep children active and stimulate their minds during the summer. Now, Akers, the driver, could not be reached for comment as of Tuesday through publicly listed numbers. So, again, this is going to be a case. I am trying to quickly look at because I know that they did release the names and I had an article, but I wanted to double check those before I gave them out. So when I find the article, I will probably release those names. But I did want to make sure that we did at least honor these, 4 children who lost their lives because it's absolutely tragic, and I hope that, they will get some of the counseling and support and encouragement that they need because we all know that this is not going to be a short process. I mean, legal justice, investigations, all these things are going to take a long time. So hopefully we get some more answers. Now Now, this woman's face looks incredibly familiar, but I don't remember her. I didn't watch Dallas, though, but rest in peace, Priscilla Pointer, the Dallas actress and mother of Amy Irving, who passed away at 100 years old. She has a very familiar face. I'm sure I've seen her in just a gajillion things I don't remember, but I can't remember much. Uh, Patricia Pointer has died at the age of 100. Pointer's death was announced on Instagram by her daughter, Amy Irving, who shared that Pointer had passed away on Monday, April the 28th. Priscilla Pointer, acclaimed stage, television, and film actress and mother of Katie, David, and Amy Irving, died peacefully in her sleep at the age of 100, hopefully to run off with her 2 adoring husbands and their many dogs. Most definitely, she will be missed, Irving wrote. Pointer's son, David Irving, told USA Today that she died in an assisted living facility in Ridgeville, Connecticut, of natural, causes. Pointer had a long career on Broadway, in addition to many film and television roles. She appeared on 44 episodes of Dallas as Rebecca Barnes Wentworth from 1981 to 1983. Pointer was born in New York City in 1924 to artist parents, and in 1954 she appeared on the television series China Smith, also known as The New Adventures of China Smith, but otherwise her early career was mostly focused on the stage. She and husband Jules Irving, whom she wed in 1947, were founding members of the San Francisco Actors Workshop in 1952. Now, she made her Broadway debut in Danton's Death in 1965, and between then and 1973, she would appear in multiple other productions, like The Time of Your Life, Yerma, and A Streetcar Called Desire. Okie dokie. So, I mean, I'm glad seemed like she had a wonderful and full life, and to die peacefully in your sleep after a wonderful, full, and long life where you maybe knew before all of us who shot JR and that it was just a dream, you know, really good. Y'all, I don't even know where to put this next article, so, we're just going with angry pro cat mob targeted the wrong house. I feel like if they found the right house, I would have no problem with this, but you kind of attacked an innocent person. An angry mob targeted the wrong house after accused serial cat unaliver was released from jail as the vigil turned violent. Yeah, don't mess with dingus or my cats. I can understand this. Had they found the right house, I would feel like no big deal, no damage done. A vigil to honor feline slain by an accused serial cat unaliver in Santa Ana, California, took a violent turn when attendees decided they would track down the suspect themselves. But they were led by someone directionally challenged like me. Again, if you're going to be passionate about something, make sure you double check the details. Now, the vigil came 1 week after Santa Ana police arrested a man who they claim had murdered dozens of cats in the neighborhood. Why? What the hell is wrong with you that you're unaliving cats? I mean, I know this is kind of a blanket statement to that, but what is wrong with you? Now, residents claimed that the suspected cat killer used a needle to inject substances into one of the cats, and the other resident told Fox 11 Los Angeles that they found their cat hanging from a tree. Now, the suspect, identified as 45-year-old man Alejandro Oliveros Acosta, allegedly confessed to carrying out the heinous crimes of cat abuse to the police. Now, he was bonded out and released from jail on Thursday, police did confirm. During Saturday night's vigil for the cats, a mob surrounded both sides of a house across the street from Acosta's actual home, so they got the wrong house. Believing that they, had gotten his house. Now, the outlet reported that the mob demanded that he come out and began to break windows and even pepper sprayed the man who lived in the home, while children were seen watching the whole ordeal from inside. This is why you don't join a mob. It's bad, okay? Because mobs are stupid. Now, the victim, who did not want to be identified, told Fox News 11 that he is not the brother of the cat unaliver. He has no, but he is related to his brother-in-law. So he's like, look, I'm not even blood related to them, okay? He's like, no. Now, he has not seen or heard from Acosta since his arrest. It took more than an hour for Santa Ana police to arrive on scene. Now, Fox News Digital did try to reach out to the Santa Ana Police Department for comment, but did not hear back. Now, Fox 11 reported that the crowd continued to chant around the wrong home and accused the residents of collaborating with a cat unaliver, despite police declaring that it was an unlawful, assembly. Last night, during a vigil related to this case, several individuals became unruly, vandalized property, and threw objects in a neighborhood. While we support the community's right to peacefully assemble, the Santa Ana Police Department will not tolerate acts of violence, vandalism, or any threats to public safety, the police department said in a statement released on X. Any damage to life or property will have consequences, and those engaging in criminal behavior will be held accountable. We appreciate the community's cooperation and patience as this case moves through the legal system. And that's what people don't get a lot of times, is how long it takes for our legal system to actually work. How much of cases are actually kind of won or lost in the motions in limine. And it really is kind of hard to explain to someone who doesn't understand the criminal justice system just how long these things can take and why it is necessary for them to take this long. We need a due process. We need, these points argued out. It's really hard to understand that when you're not constantly watching trials. So I get that I get the community's frustration. I wouldn't want this jerk face living anywhere near me. Now, the victim told Fox 11 that they knew nothing about Acosta's alleged crimes and were terrified by the crowd's action. The peaceful protesting wasn't so peaceful. They're scaring kids here. It's scaring the whole family. And there are kids, 7 children in this house, and 2 little babies, one that is autistic. So, breaking our fences, pepper spraying us for no reason. If you did what you did, I don't know anything about it. When we found out, we were shocked, the victim told Fox 11. Over several weeks, the Santa Ana Police Department said they had received multiple disturbing reports involving suspected abuse and unaliving of cats in the neighborhood. Now, police said that the reports alleged that a man had been luring neighborhood cats to his property so he could do ridiculous and terrible things to them. Neighbors told Fox 11 that they believed their cats had, been victims of Acosta and were planning to report those missing cats to the police. Now, in response to Acosta bonding out of jail, police said it is the right to bail is protected under the Eighth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and that individuals arrested in California may post bail based on predetermined bail schedules established under the California Penal Code for certain offenses. So, while this does, check all the boxes of being legal, I do understand how people are righteously angry, and it seems, unfair and ridiculous that he's not, formally charged, that he's not made to stay in jail. So I get that. So I get both sides of it. If you're gonna mob outside a house, make sure you use GPS. I have now learned reliably that Waze is the only GPS to use. So there you go. We're learning new things from the Karen Reed trial. I didn't think I'd actually say that, but there you go. Well, one judge is not having a good day. A judge previously disciplined for a hot tub selfie with public defenders is now accused of ignoring the Nevada Supreme Court. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this, but don't ignore a Supreme Court. It's bad. They can do bad things to you. Don't ignore them. Public service number one for announcement for, the world. Don't ignore the Supreme Court, especially if you're a judge who happened to take, naughty pictures in a hot tub with public defenders. A Nevada judge famous for posing in hot tub selfies with public defenders is facing judicial discipline once again, this time for allegedly ignoring orders issued by the Silver State Supreme Court. Clark County District Attorney Court Judge Erica Ballou is named in a formal statement of charges filed on April 24th. The 11-page document alleges that the Vegas area jurist committed 6 ethical violations when she repeatedly interjected herself and her court into various cases by issuing legally suspect rulings in favor of a criminal defendant. Yeah, that's kind of bad. I mean, I'm not a legalologist, but, when the Supreme Court says that's bad, I tend to listen to them. Now, each of these disputed cases concern Mia Christman, 31, who committed violent crimes during a spree some 12 years ago. She pled guilty and was sentenced to a minimum of 10 years behind bar, but on appeal, Ballou issued several rulings in favor of Christman. Now, quote, through her involvement in the Christman case, Judge Ballou exhibited a pattern of conduct that demonstrated a clear bias in favor of Christman and against the state, the charging document reads. This bias was evidenced through a combination of actions, omissions, and on-the-record statements that, taken together, reflect a departure from the standard of impartiality required of a Nevada judicial officer. Bev, I would watch myself. It's Massachusetts. I don't know. I think it's legal or it's illegal if you are unbiased. Now, in 2021, acting on a petition for a writ of habeas corpus, Ballou determined that Christman received ineffective assistance of counsel during sentencing and ordered her to be released from prison. Prosecutors, however, fought back, and in 2022, the Nevada Supreme Court reversed the district court, ruling that Christman had not received ineffective counsel and remanded the case to Ballou with, as is typical, orders to fashion a new ruling in line with what the high court had said. Basically, like, we gave you a PIP, a performance improvement plan. We need you to change these things, get back to us, and you can get off of, probation or, yeah, pretty much. The judge, however, refused to oblige. I mean, because, why would you listen to the Supreme Court as a judge? And thank you, Kelly, so much for being a member for 6 months. And yes, it is date night. I am negotiating with teen girls to see who will watch the Feral Boys. So we might go to get, probably not chips and salsa, but something with an adult beverage. For months, the state repeatedly objected to Judge Ballou scheduling a new evidentiary hearing on the ineffective assistance of counsel claim, the filing goes on. The state also requested that Judge Ballou enter a judgment in favor of the state and remand Christman into custody pursuant to the Supreme Court's order to reverse and, mandate on remand. And thank you so much, on Balanced Equation for becoming a member. And let me write that down because I am. And if you are new here, we have the swear jar, and I put everyone's membership in there. So thank you so much. And I actually had to get a bigger swear jar. It's behind my whiteboard of truth. Uh, that I pulled out since Baker had he had a whiteboard and I wanted to play with my whiteboard. It's not that deep. Eventually, the state did lose patience with this process and filed for a mandamus relief directly from the Nevada Supreme Court. A mandamus petition is not exactly an appeal, it is rather an attempt to have one court force another entity within the government to do something or force itself to correct a mistake. Now, prosecutors asked the Nevada Supreme Court to vacate a scheduled hearing on the ineffective assistance of counsel claim and to enter judgment in favor of the state and send Christman back to prison. In late 2023, the state Supreme Court found that Ballou had violated their earlier order and directed her to comply, but the commission alleges that Ballou continued to fail to immediately render a judgment in favor of the state and remand Christman into custody. Now, what did this felon do for this judge? Because no one puts their neck out this far for someone for no good doggone reason. So what is going on here? I need to know the details. I need some Cellbrite information. I need a lot of things. And thank you, Kay, for gifting a membership. And that went to RJNLC. Welcome to the Church of Mo. We have the triangle of dark chocolate, sarcasm, and true crime. We're just like, real special people with our own triangle. Mr. Mo is not always, so placated or at ease with my love of true crime. I can't imagine why he's terrified of me. So in early 2024, prosecutors filed a motion to enforce the high court's orders. So we have gone years now with this judge just doing whatever the hell she wants to do. The state then also moved to have Ballou recused from Christman's underlying case, which the defendant quickly opposed with a motion to strike the recusal motion. Ballou, in return, granted Christman's motion, then she signed off on another defense motion to modify the prison sentence. The Supreme Court, in response to the state's motion to enforce, rejected that requested relief, but used the state's argument to directly divest Ballou of jurisdiction over the Christman case. The matter was sent to a different judge who promptly entered a judgment for the state, and by May of last year, Christman was returned to prison. The defendant had already served 6 years of a 10-year sentence when Ballou began to intervene in her cases. It felt like somebody took a chance on me, Christman told Las Vegas-based CBS affiliate KLAS, referring to the judge's efforts. That chance, though, now has professional repercussions. Judge Ballou's actions constitute a violation of the code that was knowing or deliberate, or a violation that was not knowing and deliberate, the statement of the charges alleges. Both types of violations are contrary to form, force, and effect of the code. Judicial ethics investigators are not, at least at this stage, asking for any particular kind of discipline. Such judgment or punishment will be up to judicial ethics experts and officials themselves. So I don't think she's going to win this. Something tells me when you try to play one side or the other as a judge, and it's noticeable enough that the Supreme Court tells you to knock it the hell off, and you just, decide to FAFO, FO is what you're going to find out. I mean, FO is what we're going to find out. Now, gird your earloins because we have 2 for Lord Chippy today. And good Lord, could we lower the supply of Lord Chippy contestants? No, because now we have Lord Chippy bites. We have so many contestants. Now, let me just tell you that I would be in a lovely shade of orange if this happened. A dad found a 20-year-old man lying naked on the floor of his 13-year-old daughter's room and opened fire. Now, Lord Chippy needs to see the naked man. The dad needs to get a parade, and I'm done with this story. Ta-dun-ching. I mean, I see nothing wrong here, is what I'm saying. A Kentucky man escaped gunfire after he allegedly met with a 13-year-old girl for abuse. Now he's facing felony rape charges. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Lord Chippy, get on over here. Apparently, this little douche wants to, meet you. He wants to meet a lot of people. He can meet Lord Chippy, allegedly in Minecraft. Parker Kramer, 20 years old, was apprehended by police after he fled from a Florence home where he allegedly had met a 13-year-old girl for abuse. Now, in a press release, the Boone County Sheriff's Office said that after midnight on Monday, police responded to reports of shots fired in a neighborhood. Now, the caller was the man who fired the shots, the father of the girl. Now I'm not saying that in Moe's, universe, the police would then have just brought this human garbage water trash can individual to the father and said, "We're gonna look away for 10 minutes. Whatever happens, happens." Look, I know that's not the justice we co-sign for, but I think that there can be exceptions, and in Moe's universe, there would be. You mess with children, you're out. Sorry, 3 strikes on the first strike. Just out. Now, they did say that they had, responded, and it was the father that called. Now, according to the sheriff's office, the father, who was not named in the release, told dispatchers that he had heard noises coming from his daughter's room in the middle of the night. When he looked inside his daughter's room, he found an adult man lying naked on her bedroom floor, who was later identified as Kramer. Now, the father told Kramer he was calling the police and left to get his force multiplier. Give this dad a medal and a parade. I'm here for it, Mr. Dad. If you want to talk, we will talk. I want to talk to you because hells yeah, allegedly in Minecraft. Now, when the police arrived, they found Kramer's unoccupied vehicle and looked up the registration on the scene. They identified Kramer as the owner of the car, and the father recognized Kramer from his driver's license photo as the man who was in his daughter's bedroom. As more officers arrived to help search for Kramer, including those from the Florence Police Department, an aerial drone was deployed to aid in the search. Kramer was spotted by the drone and taken into custody at 2:34 a.m. Please tell me he was still naked. Please tell me that they got to do a rear naked chokehold on a naked man who was gross, and then they walked him into Gen Pop just a flapping and telling everyone what he'd done. Now, during an interview with the detective, Kramer admitted that he drove from Louisville to Florence to meet the girl for some smexy time. Now, initially, after being charged with burglary, he was eventually charged with 2 counts of assault and 1 count of sodomy. He was booked into Boone County Jail on $250,000 bond, and he remains in custody for a preliminary hearing on May the 5th. Yeah, like I said, I would see no problems just giving this gentleman to the dad, but that's not strictly constitutional, but it is most-stitutional, which makes sense. And this absolute butt monkey with a side of douche canoe. They wouldn't go into the freezers. A funeral home director gave fake ashes to thousands of grieving pet owners and actually dumped the carcasses into a landfill, the attorney general says. Now, I know in the grand scheme of things, he didn't unalive humans, but as someone who lost a very dear fur baby about a year ago, and the vet was an absolute angel. Her staff were just sweet. They let me hold Friberto as he passed away. They got some of his little curly ear hair and, saved it for me and wrote me a lovely letter. I can tell you that I grieved very hard for Friberto. Maybe it's easier for me to grieve a pet than it is people, which, look, a psychiatrist would have a field day with me. But to lie to a bunch of people who are grieving, just absolutely gross. A Pennsylvania funeral home director allegedly bilked some 6,500, think about that, 6,500 people of more than $650,000 by promising to cremate their animals, but instead dumping those animals into a landfill and giving their pet owners fake ashes. Now, Patrick Vereb, 70, is charged with several felony counts, including theft by deception, receiving stolen property, and deceptive business practices. Attorney General Dave Sunday announced. Verb, the owner of Verb Funeral Home and Eternity Pet Memorial in the Pittsburgh area, told pet owners that he would cremate their pets and return the ashes in an urn for a fee. But instead of actually, doing what he said, he would dump those animal bodies into a landfill and give ashes of unknown animals or peoples or just ashes of any kind to customers. Now, I don't know how far Satan has to get a hold of your heart or the devil or like evil or I don't know, Rita Repulsa from the freaking Power Rangers, but how evil do you have to be to do this? Like, what in the name of all that is Fazoli's are we doing here? From 2021 to 2024, he would neglect his duty of care by deliberately and repeatedly betraying his customers who just wanted dignified, service for their animals or, passing. Now, Sunday noted that customers paid Verb a significant amount of money for those services. The case was so extensive that the AG's office created a website and email address to update victims on the status of their cases. As a pet owner myself, I can't imagine the heartbreak in learning that you were affected by a crime like this, Sunday stated, adding that he found the case disturbing. Now, according to a local CBS affiliate, KDAK, the case broke open thanks to an intern turned whistleblower. Protect this person. Tiffany Mentezurtis earned an internship at the funeral home after graduating from mortuary school in February 2024. And ma'am, Miss Tiffany, and I can't say your last name because I will butcher it, but let me highlight it. Thank you for being brave enough to stand up and call out wrongdoing. Maybe other people would say, "Oh, it's just, pets. We're not gonna, cause a fuss." But you saw something wrong and you stood up. As an intern, as, someone who's just learning, who's looking to get a foot up in the industry, I greatly admire that this young lady, you know, came forward and told the truth. Because I can imagine how terrifying it was to go against a very old, very respected person and tell the truth. This is real female power. This is real speaking truth to power. She could have lost everything. I mean, he has probably a lot of pull in this industry, but she said, no, this is wrong. And I am just, as a mama, like that is proudness right there. Now, in addition to helping with the human funerals, she told the TV station that Verb would also have her handle cremations for dogs and cats. However, she noticed that something was off. He would get pets in and they wouldn't go into the freezers, she said, adding that it's important to freeze, the animals while they're waiting to process them. She said that spreadsheets would keep track of the cremations and it was also inaccurate. So when I pulled the spreadsheet up, I noticed that there was a very alarming amount of pets who didn't have crematory numbers. She concluded that something very bad was going on. She claimed that Verub would send bigger pets to the crematory, but the smaller ones he would not. And then he would allegedly just mix all the ashes together and give them to the owners as if it was only their pet. Now, he has been taken into custody Monday and was released on his own recognizance. His next court date is scheduled for May 9th. Now, according to the funeral home's website, he became a licensed funeral director at the age of 21, and he boasted there are over 20,000 pets portraits on petmemorialpittsburgh.com. So just gross, and I hope all of these people get some sort of justice because just ew. Ew, who does this? For money? Ugh. We need a little bit of a palate cleanser after that, so let's get to a hero. A hero bystander jumped into the sea to save a stranger being attacked by a shark. I just had to save the woman. A heroic Australian man has told of how he jumped into the Australian Ocean to save a stranger who was being mauled by a shark. Now, I'm just going to tell you that, y'all, I will be waiting for you on the shore, but I am not going in with Jaws. I am here with all the first aid, though. So if another incredibly brave person swims to bring you in, I will attempt to do first aid. Blake Donaldson and his partner were the only other people at Gaia Beach in Bundeena last month when they heard Mangyun Manny Zhang, 57, scream for help as a bull shark clamped its jaws on her right leg. I just had to jump in, he told Australia's 60 Minute. The fight or flight kicks in, and I just made a decision. Sure, there could be a shark, but my reaction was I just have to save this woman. I wasn't thinking about the shark. I wasn't really thinking about my own safety. I just thought, I can't watch this woman drowned. You either watch someone drowned or you go in to help them. A couple of seconds could mean someone's life. Donaldson was able to pull Zhang to the shore while his partner, Ellen Melchert, immediately began applying first aid to the 15-inch wound around the attacked stranger's knee. Zhang lost a catastrophic amount of blood, and Marco Alcili, an intensive care paramedic who responded, said that she probably would not have survived if he hadn't jumped in. Now, she did lose consciousness, only waking after her first surgery, she told 60 Minutes. Donaldson and Zhang had an emotional reunion on the program after a month or so after the attack. So that is a hellacious wound. Do not Australia, y'all are just, born different because everything wants to kill you over there. And she just said, "You saved my life. Words cannot express how thankful I am," she told him, calling him her lifesaver and hero. Donaldson replied modestly and said, "They say you're a hero. I don't think about it, but it sort of does hit you and makes you realize that you did save someone." So humble, sweet, and a happy story. We need some of those once in a while. And our final story is another Australia story, if you can believe it or not. Australia's favorite fugitive, a dachshund named Valerie, has finally been rescued after being on the run for 529 days. I mean, she does look like she wanted to get out, enjoy the world. It's always the dachshunds. You have to beware of the wiener dogs. Australia's favorite fugitive was finally rescued after 529 days on the lam. Miniature dachshund Valerie, described by her owner as an absolute princess who rides in a car seat and only wears the color pink, first went missing back in November 2023. An animal rescue group was overjoyed to announce Friday that they had finally caught her. After weeks of tireless efforts, Valerie has been safely rescued and is fit and well. We are absolutely thrilled and deeply relieved that Valerie is safely back and able to begin her transition back to a loving parents. Uh, Kengala Wildlife Rescue said on TikTok. Now, Kengala Wildlife Rescue, a animal rescue based in South Australia, explained the long ordeal involved over 1,000 volunteer hours and more than 5,000 kilometers traveled by volunteers in their private vehicles. Also, deployment and monitoring of numerous cameras and traps, and the use of various technology to try to find this, mischievous puppers. And look, not guilty about a daggone thing. Not one bit of guilt. Like, I had fun. It was fun. I'm back home now. Now, Valerie escaped from her pen when she was camping on Stokes on the Bay, uh, on Kangaroo Island with her owners, Georgia Gardner and Josh Fishlock. 2 days into the trip, the couple had decided to go fishing for about 30 minutes, and that's when the dog made a run for it. We left her in her pen with her bed and her water and a snuffy mat with treats and other dog toys. It'd been a big day, so we thought she'd be tired. Some good Samaritans saw her and, couldn't trap her, and the couple spent the next 5 days looking for, well, Valerie. They posted about her disappearance at a local Facebook group and were connected with a Kangala Wildlife Rescue, an animal rescue based in South Australia, who helped them search for the dog. It was very awful, Gardner continued to the outlet. We were crying, we weren't sleeping or eating very much, and it poured rain the whole time. Finally, we had to leave the island. We both had to return to our full time jobs. So it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. When the devastated owners finally decided it was time to go home, they were sure to leave items of theirs and Valerie's at the campsite just in case she returned. They left a little one of her toys. I don't know why you would leave clothes for a dog, but it's not my jam. But, if you like to put your dog in clothes, I'm sure she appreciated the thought. On the 1 year anniversary of her disappearance, Gardner posted on Facebook again, prompting some people to try to reach out to say that they had seen Valerie on the island a few times. On February 28th, after another sighting, the wildlife rescue got involved again, setting up more cameras and interviewing witnesses. After a long, drawn out roller coaster ride, they finally got her. And in the post, the nonprofit's directors, Jared and Lisa Kerrigan, explained that they set up traps and made sure that there were no other animals around. Once Valerie was inside, they pressed a remote which closed the trap's door. Valerie handled all that, very well considering she's been out in the wild with kangaroos for the entire, year. Gardner expressed her awe of how her high maintenance canine had endured being away and in the wild for so long. Every dog has a bit of Buck from Call of the Wild in him. They can all go to Alaska and become, the alpha of their own pack. Not sure about a miniature dachshund, but, they have attitudes. Oh, your clothes, but I think they also dress up the dog. So, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of dressing up your dog, but I do see the appeal, it looks kind of funny. That being said, I hope you all have a wonderful morning. I am going to be sending you over to Karen Reed, day 7. We are back with Jen McCabe. We are still on direct, so I know we are all just waiting on pins and needles for, Cross to come out. We'll see. Who knows? I did have to finish the entire box of Mike and Ike's yesterday because Jen McCabe's lip smack did annoy me. I am highly sensitive to lip smacks, and it just took me out. But thank you all so much for joining me this morning and for doing all the YouTubey things. Remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because honest to goodness, kindness doesn't equal doormat. Bye, you guys.